Hello and welcome to the State of the Fleet Industry, a weekly video series produced by Automotive Fleet magazine. I'm Mike Antich, editor of Automotive Fleet, and today I'd like to examine what's occurring in the fleet industry for the week of February 20th, 2023. And for this week's episode, I'd like to discuss the dynamics of today's fleet maintenance market, and in particular, I'd like to examine 5 factors that are contributing to today's elevated fleet maintenance costs. And as we're all painfully aware, these cost increases have been substantial, and in some cases, fleet maintenance costs have experienced percentage increases that are double-digit. So, what's exerting the upward pressure on fleet maintenance costs, and what's causing them to increase so much? One reason that doesn't get as much attention as much as I think it should is vehicle complexity. While most of the upward pressure on maintenance costs can be attributed to today's inflationary pressures, supply constraints, another key contributing factor is the increased complexity of today's vehicles that promise to become even more complex in future model years. One consequence to the increased vehicle complexity is that the average maintenance transaction cost has increased industry-wide. And one factor, and it's not the sole factor, but one factor pushing up transaction fees on average is the increased volume of vehicle diagnostic fees, increased labor hours to identify intermittent issues, and recalibration expenses for fleet vehicles equipped with crash avoidance technologies such as forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assistance, and blind spot detection. These systems as a category are known as ADAS, or Advanced Driver Assistance Systems. ADAS systems use sensors that are typically incorporated in the front windshield and the vehicle's rear bumper. Most OEMs state that an ADAS system has to be recalibrated anytime a sensor is removed, replaced, or reinstalled, all of which are contributing to higher fleet maintenance costs. When front windshield or rear bumpers are damaged and need to be replaced, it requires the recalibration of the ADAS cameras and sensors. And again, this is an added fleet maintenance expense. And to illustrate this price inflation, according to a recent study by the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety, or IIHS, it reported that a routine windshield replacement that might have cost $250 in the past, when equipped with forward collision warning sensors, will most likely cost $1,000 or more. Not only is the replacement windshield more expensive, but there is the additional expense to recalibrate the ADAS system to ensure it's functioning properly. And the volume of recalibration expenses is growing. For instance, the recent IIHS study I cited earlier discovered that it's not uncommon for post-repair problems to persist even after performing an ADAS recalibration, again requiring an additional visit to a repair facility. So while electronics are extremely reliable, when problems happen, they tend to be expensive to fix. But the biggest factor contributing to today's higher maintenance expenses has been an uptick in unscheduled maintenance repairs as a result of vehicles operating beyond their scheduled service lives. And as we know, what's causing this to occur is the difficulty in sourcing replacement vehicles. These higher mileage fleet vehicles, which are now operating beyond their scheduled replacement parameters, are now experiencing the predictable uptick in unscheduled maintenance. And here's what one fleet manager said, quote, "My fleet has experienced a spike in unscheduled maintenance expenses because I've been forced to extend service lives of my vehicles because it's difficult to source replacement vehicles," end of quote. These unscheduled maintenance costs are up dramatically due to more expensive repairs for vehicles operating beyond their scheduled replacement dates. Invariably, what needs to be repaired when these higher mileage vehicles incur a problem are major components. So what is the forecast? Unfortunately, my prediction is that the frequency of unscheduled maintenance repairs will most likely continue far into the calendar year 2024. So why do I think that? Well, the reality is that for the past several years, the number of extended service life vehicles on the road continue to outpace the acquisition of new replacement vehicles. So think about that and think about its implications. The third reason for higher maintenance costs is due to the ongoing part shortage. Backordered parts are lengthening repair times for vehicles as they sit parked waiting for components to arrive at a repair facility. Talk to fleet managers. Most fleets have seen major increases in downtime for vehicles that are unable to be repaired due to a lack of parts. And these shortages run the gamut from back orders for replacement fuel tanks down to mundane items such as brake pads or oil filters. And there doesn't seem to be a rhyme or reason as to why these shortages are occurring, nor how long these shortages will last. Nowadays, what is in extremely short supply are replacement catalytic converters due to an epidemic of catalytic converter thefts that are occurring around the country. The demand for replacement catalytic converters has far exceeded the available inventory. And if you're lucky, you can get a replacement catalytic converter in several weeks, which is still a long time, but increasingly, what I'm hearing is that fleets are waiting for 3 to 6 months to get replacement catalytic converters, depending on the vehicle make and model year. And here's how one fleet manager summarized the issue. Quote, parts availability is a huge issue. The lack of timely receipt of parts is forcing us to use rental vehicles. The delays in putting vehicles back on the road is resulting in downtime for our employees and drivers, end of quote. And here's how another fleet manager quantified the downtime resulting from the increased turnaround time for services to be completed. Quote, the delay in getting replacement parts and the technician shortage has caused a repair time to increase 4x. In other words, it's taking 4 times as long. And as a result, one consequence to longer vehicle downtime at a repair facility is a corresponding increase in rental vehicle costs to keep employees in the field. I mean, I've heard some fleet managers say that vehicle rental expenses are now the fastest growing line item in their fleet budgets. A fourth factor increasing fleet maintenance expenses are inflationary pressures, namely labor rates, parts prices, and pass along costs from increased commodity prices used to manufacture the replacement parts. Here's how one fleet manager summarized the situation from the perspective of his fleet. Quote, when the increased pricing for parts are added to higher labor rates, we've seen our maintenance expenses increase by 34%, end of quote. I mean, these inflationary pressures we're experiencing in the automotive sector are the same inflationary pressures being experienced in the broader national macroeconomy. So what is my forecast as to what we can anticipate in the future? There's nothing on the horizon to indicate that this situation will be changing much in the 2024 calendar year, so expect more of the same. Labor rates. Labor rates are continuing to increase due to inflationary pressures, and labor rates have been increasing for the past several years. And this is being driven by the shortage of qualified automotive technicians, along with the overall inflationary pressure on wages in general. And the problem is not only hiring techs, but also retaining them, since they're often lured away by other companies offering higher compensation programs. There is intense competition for skilled technicians from dealerships, public sector fleets operating in-house maintenance facilities, and independent service providers, all of whom have unfilled automotive technician positions open at their operations, and they're having difficulty filling these open positions. The ongoing shortage of automotive repair technicians, it's a nationwide problem, and the prognosis is that the problem will even get worse before it gets better, especially as more and more baby boomers retire each year, and baby boomers are the largest demographic segment among automotive technicians. The technician shortage is making it challenging to get repair done in a timely manner, regardless of whether the work is insourced or outsourced. And here's how one fleet manager describes the current state of today's fleet maintenance network. Quote, shops are crowded, parts are delayed, labor's in short supply, and repair quality is down. End of quote. I mean, this is a sobering assessment of today's fleet maintenance market, and as a consequence, these challenges are having a major impact on fleets. Think about it. A fleet vehicle is a revenue-generating asset. If it's not on the road, a company is not making money. So with this as my final observation, I'd like to conclude my State of the Fleet Industry presentation for the week of February 20th, 2023, and I'd like to thank you for watching.